Hey, right now in Charleston, some markets are struggling. Sellers are walking away with less money than they hoped for, and buyers are getting a really good deal. In this video, I'm gonna break down the 5 hottest markets, the 5 fastest moving, and the 5 slowest markets, the 5 coldest. Let's get started. But hey, before we get into it, if we haven't met yet, my name's Matt O'Neill. I'm a Charleston local, and I've helped people move to this city for over 2 decades. I've helped 5,000 families and sold $3 billion in Charleston real estate. If you're thinking about moving here, this video is gonna give you a good clue on which markets are hot and which are not. Before we get into specific markets, there's one critical number you need to understand first. That is months of inventory. Months of inventory is a number that tells you if you're negotiating from a strength or weakness. MOI tells you how long it would take to sell homes on the market right now at the current pace of sales. And there's a magic number to this. That magic number is 6 months. If you're under 6 months of inventory, it's a seller's market. But if you have 6 months or more, it's a buyer's market. Charleston's metro area sits right now at 3.6 months of inventory as of September 2025. But the markets we're covering today are going to range all the way from as low as 2.4 months of inventory, which is a severe seller's market. And when we get to Mount Pleasant in a few minutes, you're going to see why 2.4 months of inventory is creating a buyer frenzy that is completely different from what's happening on the other end of the spectrum at Folly Beach. Think of it this way. Would you rather be the only person trying to buy one of 3 houses or one of 10 people fighting over the same house? This tells you how much power you have, how fast you need to move, and if you should be aggressive or if you should be patient. So let's start out with the coldest markets first, because understanding why homes aren't selling will make the hot markets make way more sense. These struggling markets are mostly beach communities in Charleston, and they are second home markets. Prices just haven't adjusted to the new reality of over 6% mortgage rates and way less buyer demand for properties that are like $2 million or more. So market number 5, that's Seabrook Island. Seabrook Island has 4.9 months of inventory. So it's just under that 6-month threshold that says it's still in a slight seller's market, but really it's kind of an even market. Buyers don't have an upper hand, sellers don't have an upper hand. Seabrook is what I would say is an even market. It is a resort style retirement community. The setting is super beautiful, but here's the problem. At Seabrook, you are an hour away from downtown Charleston. You're isolated. You're far from hospitals. You're far from shopping. You're far from dining. Here's the other thing about Seabrook. HOA fees are sky high. Seabrook shows that even well-planned communities struggle when location trade-offs are too big. That's the rub with Seabrook and why we're seeing it stagnate. Market number 4, Isle of Palms. Isle of Palms is sitting at 5.8 months of inventory, right at that 6-month of inventory threshold, which means it's not a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market, it is completely an even market. The median price on Isle of Palms is $2.5 million. Homes are taking like 150 days on average to sell. That's up 77 days from last year. It is not a competitive market. Isle of Palms allows vacation rental properties like short-term rentals. When you have so many vacation properties, you don't get that like neighborhood feel. And when you're dropping a whopping $2.5 million on a home, you're gonna want that community feel. Isle of Palms feels more like a vacation resort and not really a neighborhood. And this is what's holding Isle of Palms back. Market number 3, Sullivan's Island. Sullivan's Island has over 6 months of inventory, sitting at 6.2 months, so it is officially a buyer's market. The median sales price or the average sales price on Sullivan's Island is almost $4 million, and you're sitting at 142 days on market. These are the ultra high-end properties of Charleston, and they are moving slow in 2025. There's only so many people in the world that have $4 million to spend on a beach house right now. Sellers are still holding on to what they say was the price a few years ago. And here's the thing. I mean, the prices on Sullivan's Island probably need to come down. The sellers are still holding on to the prices they saw just a couple years ago when the money was cheap and demand was crazy. But the market right now in 2025 is telling us that $4 million a house probably isn't realistic right now for Sullivan's Island. So the big thing holding Sullivan's Island back, because they don't allow vacation rentals and it is a great neighborhood community, beach community, is prices are just too high right now for buyer demand. The second coldest market in Charleston is Awendaw, McClellanville area. Awendaw, McClellanville is sitting at 8 months of inventory. That is a big problem. That means that we have way more sellers than we have buyers wanting to move to Awendaw and McClellanville. Awendaw and McClellanville are just north of Mount Pleasant, and it used to be a really, really hot market. When Mount Pleasant was super hot and there was no inventory of Mount Pleasant, everyone moved just a little north to get to Awendaw and McClellanville to be close to Mount Pleasant because houses are a lot less expensive there. But people are trying to charge Mount Pleasant prices right now in these areas for a median price that's at $742,000. Again, same thing with Sullivan's Island that we saw. I think Awendaw's prices are just a little too high for today's market. I think prices in Awendaw and McClellanville are going to come down in the next 12 months. The distance from Charleston just doesn't make sense for the savings that you're getting right now. You could go buy a house in Mount Pleasant in the mid 700s and just be closer. And that's the problem with that market and why it's one of the coldest markets we see right now. The number one coldest market in Charleston is Folly Beach, one of my favorite places, but it's the coldest market in Charleston. Folly Beach is sitting at 10 months of inventory. Again, even markets are 6 months of inventory. Folly Beach is in a severe buyer's market. Homes are struggling in Folly Beach. There are 77 current listings on the market. People want to sell their homes on Folly Beach, but there's just not enough buyers who want to buy them. So we're in a very good buyer's market. If you're looking to negotiate a lot of money off of a beach home, Folly Beach would be the place to target right now. Median price on Folly Beach is $930,000 for a home. Again, you're under $1 million for a beach community. That's awesome. You can see why I think Folly Beach is a prime area to invest in this moment. So what happened? Folly Beach used to have a awesome market. Everyone was buying houses and the prices were just going way up. But then last year, Folly Beach changed the rules. They said they were only going to give out a limited number of short-term rental permits. People were buying beach houses on Folly and using short-term rental to offset the mortgage costs, and it made Folly a really good buy. But when you take away the short-term rental permits, suddenly all these investment buyers that were counting on an income, they can't make the numbers work anymore. And so they're trying to unload the house. But there's just not enough buyers who want to pay for a beach house investment property that's not going to generate cash flow. So that's why you're seeing nearly a 40% price drop and 10 months of inventory on Folly Beach. So those are the 5 coldest markets in Charleston. But let me show you the complete opposite side of Charleston. All right, now let's take a look at the 5 hottest markets in Charleston. There's a big difference between the coldest markets we just went over and the hottest markets. So let's start with the 5th hottest market in Charleston, James Island. James Island is where I bought my first home in 2005 when I moved to Charleston because it is a super cool community that is really close to downtown. James Island comes in at 3 months of inventory and prices are only $600,000 on average on James Island. There have been 500 sales so far in James Island from January 2025 to September 2025. And there's only 174 active listings. This is a hot market with high turnover. Everyone is buying houses on James Island. That's why the months of inventory are so low. Now, why is this market blowing up? Where else can you get close to downtown Charleston and close to the beach and spend $600,000? It doesn't exist in Mount Pleasant. It doesn't exist on Daniel Island. It doesn't exist downtown. It is James Island. It is a hot market. It's a really cool place to live. Families like to go there. Singles like to go there. It's just a really cool community. The 4th hottest market in Charleston is Daniel Island. Daniel Island, one of my favorite places in all of Charleston. Daniel Island has 2.9 months of inventory. Again, if you're under 6 months of inventory, you're in a seller's market. Well, if you're only at 2.9 months of inventory, you're in a severe seller's market. The reason Daniel Island is in a severe seller's market is because of the pace of sales. We've seen 200 sales on Daniel Island from January 2025 to September 2025, and there's only 65 houses on the market. So the number of people buying houses on Daniel Island is greater than the number of people that are trying to sell their house. And here's the thing, prices on Daniel Island are really high. Median price on Daniel Island is over $1.5 million. So, when I talked earlier about a cold market on Sullivan's Island having a $4 million average price, There's a lot more buyers that can afford $1.5 million for a luxury island, and that's why Daniel Island is so hot. And it's a master plan community. Why is Daniel Island so attractive? You also have some of the best schools in Charleston. You get a strong neighborhood feel because it was designed from a community perspective from day one. The third hottest market in Charleston is Summerville. Summerville has 2.6 months of inventory. 576 homes were sold from January and through September, and there's 166 homes on the market. Why is Summerville so hot? Well, big thing is the median price. Median price in Summerville is only $358,000. If you only have $300,000 to $400,000 to spend, you're going to go to Summerville. And there's more than just the price that makes Summerville awesome. They've got a super cool downtown area that's old and historic and has lots of great shops and dining options. And the schools in Dorchester 2 district in Summerville are some of the best test scores in all of South Carolina, making Summerville a super buy, a place investors want to invest in and first-time home buyers want to buy in, and really buyers everywhere are moving to Summerville. The second hottest market in Charleston is West Ashley. West Ashley is similar to what we talked about earlier on James Island. It's really close to downtown Charleston. Proximity in West Ashley is awesome. But the other thing that makes West Ashley really attractive is median price is under $600,000. So you get amazing location, close to the beach, close to downtown with affordable prices. That's why West Ashley is the second hottest market in 2025. There's only 2.5 months of inventory right now in West Ashley. And West Ashley is divided into two sections. The section from 526 closer to downtown has seen 373 sales, and there's only 100 houses currently on the market, making it a super hot market. So this makes West Ashley one of the best places to put your money right now, and it's why it's one of the hottest markets in all of Charleston. All right, so we're to it. What's the number one hottest market in all of Charleston? It's Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant has only 2.4 months of inventory. It's the hottest market. We've seen 829 sales in Mount Pleasant from January through September. There's only 221 homes currently on the market. It's a severe shortage of houses compared to the demand. Mount Pleasant prices, $875,000 is your average price, and it's a price that is bringing buyers in because you get a super luxury community at half the price of Daniel Island. People with children love moving to Mount Pleasant because the schools are some of the top rated in the entire state of South Carolina. And even when prices come down, they don't crash. And when inventory goes up, it doesn't stack up for months. So what's the pattern? The hot markets share these things. They're places people need to live, they're priced right for their price points, and they are really strong locations close to beaches and downtown and amenities. They have high-end sales, proving real demand, and prices that reflect today's market. What's the trend with the cold markets? They're second home or luxury markets with prices usually over $2 million, limited buyer pools, and super high price points compared to what you get. The sellers in those markets are holding on to pricing that just isn't there today. We're probably going to see those 5 coolest markets see price drops, and we're most likely going to see the 5 hottest markets see significant price increases in 2026. That makes buying right now in the hottest markets probably your smartest move before the prices go up in those areas. But if you're looking for a deal, target one of the 5 coldest markets and see if you can negotiate $100,000 or more off the price. Now here's the economic picture going into 2026. Current rates for mortgages are at 6.27%. Higher rates put the brakes on home buying. Financing a $4 million house on Sullivan's Island, let's say, is very different at 6% than it could be at 4%. So what does all this mean for you? If you're thinking about buying in the hot markets with less than 3 months of inventory, move relatively quickly, because when you find the right home, other people are probably looking at it too. Be prepared with a pre-approval letter and make sure you make a strong offer in those markets. Don't expect a huge discount in a hot market. These areas are good long-term holds. And if you're buying in a cold market with over 5 months, in some cases over 8 months of inventory, take your time. Inventory is building. Sellers are motivated. Push hard on price, ask for closing costs, ask for a lot of repairs. And consider that prices may keep falling in some areas like Folly Beach. Now, if you're trying to sell in a hot market, great. You're going to want to price smart and get lots of showings. In fact, you could get multiple offers if you have really good marketing. Marketing matters even in hot markets. If you're trying to sell in a cold market, well, you're probably going to need to come down on your price further than what you expect. Look around you and see what's not selling and then price below those. Definitely use professional staging, professional photography, video tours, and make sure you have a home measurement and floor plan in your listing. Be prepared to negotiate a lot in the cold markets. You just basically need to get that buyer across the finish line. In the hot markets, you're not going to have to budge as much, not on repairs and not on concessions. And this is where a marketing system becomes really critical. At Matt O'Neill Real Estate, we spend $1 million a year on marketing. In a buyer's market, that could be the difference between sitting on the market for 12 months or selling in less than 30 days. The Charleston market is telling us exactly what buyers want in 2025. Primary home markets with the right fundamentals keep on winning. The luxury beach properties without adjusting prices are struggling. The question is, are you ready to act on it, or do you still want to wait and just see what happens? If you're really serious about buying or selling in Charleston right now, let's talk strategy for your specific situation. My team and I can show you exactly how to position yourself in whichever market you're in the hot ones or the cold ones. And you can reach out to us at sales@mattoneillteam.com. Don't wait until the best opportunities are gone. If Daniel Island caught your attention as one of the hottest markets at 3.1 months of inventory, you need to see what's actually happening there. In my next video, I'm taking you on a complete tour of Charleston's fastest growing suburb, Daniel Island. You'll see why 972 new homes were built in 2025 alone, and what the $40 million stadium upgrade means for residents, and why prices dropped 11%, making it a really good value right now. Check out that right here, and we'll see you on the next video.